Do you have a desire to want to connect with yourself more deeply, to have a relationship with your inner self, to start connecting more to your intuition? Well, if you do, then today's video is for you, because we're going to be diving into two really simple ways, two kind of starter beginner ways that you can begin to know yourself more intimately, how you can start to have a deeper relationship with yourself. This is a big topic and there is lots and lots of different ways and techniques. But today I want to go into what I believe is kind of like the foundation, like the basics, where you need to start if you want to begin to know yourself more intimately on this journey of yours in life, okay? Because it really is a beautiful thing to say, like, hand on heart, like, I know myself. Like, and there's not many people that can actually do that, okay? And so, like, I wrote down a little list here on my laptop of what actually starts to happen as a result of getting to know yourself better. So the first thing that happens is that decision making becomes effortless in your life. It becomes a really easy thing because you know straight away, because you've got this connection with yourself and you know yourself, you know quickly whether something is for you or not for you. And then you can just step into that decision and make it. There's no kind of uncertainty around it, because you know straight up front, yes, this is going to work for me. No, this isn't. You also start to be able to consciously create your reality. You're not in a place where you're just reacting to circumstances. You are co-creating with the universe in this, because you start to have clarity, you start to have certainty around things, and you start to be able to have evidence of this, because you start to learn, like I say, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You get to learn, and I like to break this down across, and we'll kind of dig into this a little bit deeper after I've gone through these. But you start to learn what works for your body, mind, and your soul, or your spirit. Like, that's how I kind of like to break it down into like 3 different like chunks of what you want to be like satisfying, what you want to be getting to know about yourself, because it's like there's these 3 different avenues to really digging deeper and knowing who you are as an individual, as a soul. So yes, you start to be able to consciously create your reality, because you know about yourself. You can start to put yourself into situations that work for you. You can request things that work for you. You can say no to things that you know don't work for you. You start to take charge of your reality, rather than kind of constantly unconsciously attracting things into your reality. And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're crap, but not really ever knowing how to direct those experiences into your life. You also start to confirm the laws of the universe. You get more of a belief and an understanding and real-time evidence that your emotions, your vibration, and your focus is what is attracting your reality. And off the back of that, what happens as well is that you start to take more responsibility for your life, because you get more and more of this evidence of, when I feel this way, when I respond in this way, these good things happen. And when I respond and I react in this way, in a negative way, or in a way that's not in alignment with you and who you really are, then this stuff starts to happen in my reality, and this is not stuff that I enjoy experiencing. And when that starts to happen, you get to a point where you can't then doubt that you are solely responsible for what you attract into your life. The experiences that you have are a result of your point of attraction. They're not somebody else doing them to you. It is your vibration. And yes, this is a learning journey. Of course, until you get to this incredible, like, mastered state, of course, we're all going to subconsciously attract things into our life. But you start to, even the things that come into your life that are undesirable, you look at them in a whole different way. You're able to take responsibility for them. You don't then step into blame, and you not even blame with yourself. You understand, like, that was an unconscious belief, but now I'm aware of it. Now I can take it and do something with it, and all of that kind of good stuff. You also then start to, when you know yourself more intimately, you start to be able to reside in those higher emotions for longer. You know how to get into them quicker. You know what gets you into those higher emotions. And this is how you start to co-create more, because you know how to get out of the negative emotions. You know how to take from them what you need and then move out of them and get into the positive emotions again. And you also, with regards to like your negative emotions, you no longer feel the like a fear of your negative emotions, like, or even negative experiences, because you're able to see them for what they are. Okay, so there's a whole host of benefits to having this deeper connection with yourself and learning about yourself, apart from it just feeling bloody good and you're like good deep in your soul. Like, it has a whole host of benefits. So let's run through it. Like, so there's two parts to this that I'm going to go through in this video. Like I say, there's a lot more like to master, and you can really dig deep on this, and I do want to do more around this topic. Like, I'm in the process of actually putting like a course together around returning home. Like, this is what my whole channel is about. Like, if you want to like dig a bit deeper on this, go into the description, because I've got a little free guide in there that just gives you the basics. It's a little bit more on top of what we're running through in this video, that takes you through how to start uncovering your authentic self, how to start coming home to yourself, because that is what this channel is all about. Come home, go inward. And that is when you start creating the life that you ultimately desire. All those things that you want to experience, that you want to live out, you've got to make this relationship in here first before you can start bringing them in. Okay, so go check that out if you're interested, and subscribe if you're new here and that sounds like your vibe and you're aligning with that, because, you know, go check out all my other videos, because there's lots around this kind of topic. So the first thing that I want you to start focusing on, that you need to start doing if you want to have this relationship with yourself, is you need to become aware, you need to become conscious of your emotions. Your emotions are so key, okay? And they often get really overlooked. Like, there's a lot of kind of talk in the like spiritual community, and like when people talk about law of attraction and manifesting, there's a lot of talk about the positive emotions and how they're really great. And there's kind of a lot about the fact that negative emotions are really bad. And you won't hear me kind of talking that way on this channel. So I'm going to run through with you what is, in my opinion, and this is kind of taking off the back of some of like the Abraham Hicks stuff as well, what I believe the purpose of your positive and your negative emotions are, and how understanding this and learning about them is the basis for beginning to understand and learn about who you are as an individual. So let's talk about negative emotions first, because they get a really bad rap, but actually they are, in my opinion, the starting point. Okay, so for me, negative emotions are your teaching points. They are the things, they are the emotions that are trying to tell you something. So every time you feel fear, you feel anxious, you feel frustrated, you feel guilt, you feel shame, all of those emotions that reside on the lower half of the vibrational scale. And if you haven't seen a vibrational scale and you're interested in that, then go and just go onto Google. You can search for Abraham Hicks vibrational scale. There's, who else was the other one that I can't think of his name. David Hawkins has one as well. And they use slightly different emotions to go between them, because, and I've got like a whole nother video about this, so I'll link that as well, like how we place different connotations on different wording around emotions. So for example, if you look at David Hawkins' chart for vibrations, you will see that he puts desire, the emotion for desire, in the negative emotions. And desire is a really interesting one. I won't like go into it fully in this video, because I've got a whole nother video that talks about this idea of like different emotions and what you apply to them. And so, but for him, he feels that desire is like clinging, like it's this attachment to something, like you have to have it. Whereas for me, the word desire, that sits in the high emotions. Like to desire something is like, you know, to deny that is like denying your soul what it wants effectively. So find what resonates with you, because this is all very different, but there's lots of different people that have created vibrational scales out there. So even if you just type in like vibrational scale of emotions into like Google, you'll find lots of different ones come up. Find what resonates with you, but you will see that, you know, you have like a lower half of the scale and an upper half of the scale. And in the lower half is the negative emotions, and in the upper half is the higher emotions, is the positive emotions. Now, each one of these emotions emits different frequencies. This is what it means when we talk about vibration, okay? It's the energy that they emit. And so negative emotions, and they all sit on a scale. So for example, shame and like powerlessness are very low down. And so their vibrational frequency is very low. They vibrate at a very, very slow speed. And what you will find, like do this with yourself, try this, like check in with yourself, is when you feel these emotions, see how they feel in your body. So when you feel like things like powerless, when you feel like guilt and shame, when you feel like despair, grief, like they are really heavy emotions. Like your body feels sluggish, you feel tired, that's why you want to sleep a lot. Whereas when you get into those like more positive emotions, when you feel like really confident, when you feel really like exuberant and joyful and appreciative, it's like you've got all this energy, you can do everything, you know, you can do anything in the world. Like those emotions have a much faster frequency that they are vibrating at. And so obviously, because this energy, these vibrations are going through our physical bodies, they are having an impact on our bodies. And so negative emotions, like I say, they are your teaching point. So when you feel any of those negative emotions on that vibrational scale, it's telling you what is happening is in that moment that you are feeling that emotion, what's happening is you're being told by your inner being, your higher self, you're being told by source, God, whatever you like to call that kind of non-physical part of you, your soul, your spirit, all of those sorts of things. You're being told that right there in that moment of feeling those emotions, you are not in alignment with your true self, because your true self is pure love, okay? So we are a connection of source energy. And source energy, God, whatever you like to call that entity, so to speak, or that like consciousness, is vibrating at the highest vibration that it can vibrate at. And it's pure love. It's pure like bliss. It's enlightenment. Like, again, there's lots of different words to kind of describe this. It's euphoric. It's, think like ultimate bliss. And that is who you are at the basis of your being. That is who you came here as. And so that is kind of like your ultimate truth of who you are as an individual. And so every time you feel those negative emotions, you know that in that moment, you are not fully in alignment with who you truly are as an individual. But this is good. This teaches us. So this is where we start to, and this is where you start to learn about what is in alignment with you and what isn't in alignment with you. So if your negative emotions are the thing that like give you the little alert in your head to say, right, we're not in alignment here. Like my inner being, my higher self, my soul, my spirit, that part of me connected to source, connected to God, does not agree with me. This is how kind of Abraham Hicks likes to explain it, is that right now in this moment of me feeling this negative emotion, there's a conflict going on. There's a conflict in agreement, shall we say, between what I am feeling now and what the higher part of me is like seeing, is focusing on, is vibrating at. And that is why you feel negative emotion. And when people talk about feeling disconnected, that is why you feel disconnected, because you are disconnected from who you truly are. You're disconnected from, like, not in a kind of physical sense, but it's like you're not in agreement. And that's where the disconnection, like, sort of, where it feels like there's a disconnect. You aren't actually physically disconnected from it, or even energetically disconnected from it, but you are, like, not in agreement with it. You're vibrating at a lower level than what your actual, like, inner being is vibrating at. And that is why it feels off. That's why you feel, like, frustrated, why you feel grief, why you feel fear, why you feel doubt, all of those kinds of things, okay? Because something that you're focusing on, something you're thinking about, all of those kind of things that's causing you to feel that negative emotion is making you feel off, okay? Off with your actual self. So your negative emotions are there to teach you, to tell you, I'm not in alignment. So something here that I'm doing, and this is where I spoke earlier about something I'm doing in my physical world, so like with my body, something I'm doing with my thoughts, which I kind of call your, like, the mental, with the mind, or something that I'm doing with, like, my soul. Now, when I talk about, like, my soul, my spirit, that's where I talk, like, I like to think of, like, core values, those things that, like, make you you, like what you value most in life. What you value as a person. So you're not in alignment. It doesn't have to be all three. It can be all three. It can be just one, but something in those, like, three areas is not aligning with who I truly am. So your negative emotions are there to teach what your positive emotions are. And this is amazing. I'll see if I can link the video in the description, because this realization came to me when I was, like, just riffing on a video for you guys. I can't even remember what I was riffing about, but it literally all came through as a download. And so I've always kind of had that understanding around what the negative emotions provide. But I love the realization that came through when I was riffing for you guys about what the positive emotions are. So the positive emotions, when you feel those positive emotions, they are confirmation. They are confirmation, like, in that moment, that you are in alignment. So whatever it is you're doing with your body, with your mind, with your soul, and you normally have to have, like, all three of those aligned to kind of get this. That is where, and you feel that positive emotion. Your positive emotion is saying, yep, you got it, well done, tick. Like, remember this, like, we are in alignment. You right now as your physical being, and you as your higher self, your non-physical self, your inner self, we are in alignment. We are, like, aligned with this way of being, with this way of thinking, with this way of doing. Okay, so this is how you start to be able to use negative and positive emotions. They are going to be your roadmap for knowing who you really are, okay? And the beautiful thing is, because we're experiencing emotions all the time throughout the whole day, you can constantly keep tapping in and becoming aware of these emotions and what they're telling you. Like, it's like, this is how your inner being, your soul, your spirit, again, whatever you like to call it, this is how it's communicating to you. Like, it communicates through your emotions, okay? So once we know what these different emotions are trying to tell us, so we know that the negative emotions are trying to teach us about we're not in alignment. Something we're doing does not vibe with us on some level. So it might be something in your physical environment that you're kind of physically experiencing, or even how you're feeling in your body. It might be thoughts that you're thinking that are taking you into a place of lack, into a place of doubt, all of that kind of stuff. It might be that you're doing something against what your core values are, and it's like your soul is like, this is not who I am at my core, okay? So they're teaching you, like, our negative emotions are really important, and I harp on about this in all of my videos because I don't think it gets talked about enough. There's so much about get out of them, like, we don't want to be in negative emotions. Yes, I agree. You don't want to be residing in negative emotions all of the time, but you need negative emotions to expand and to grow and to learn more about yourself. They are there to serve just as much of a purpose as your positive emotions. Otherwise you wouldn't have them. It'd be pointless. Like, why would we, like, evolve as a species, as like, you know, to have this playing field to come down on and have something that was completely pointless to us. It's not. It is completely valuable. And when you start to learn to embrace your negative emotions and see them for what they are, that is when you start to really speed up your own personal growth and your connection with yourself, okay? So once you've got this understanding of what the positive and the negative emotions are giving you and what they're telling you, then this is basically just like a little practice that you can do off the back of it. And that is simply to just start making a note, like grab a journal, open a notepad like page on your phone or Google Docs, whatever like, you know, you prefer to do, and simply start to become an observer of yourself. Like, it's almost like you want to step back from yourself a little bit and see yourself in like this third person view, watching yourself like interact with the world. And just simply, it doesn't have to take long, but just jot down what you notice. Notice what you like, notice what makes you feel good, and notice what doesn't make you feel good. So like, you know, this is what I do, like, you know, each morning and each night, I'll just kind of like go back through and recall my day and just simply say, like, this thing that I did today, like this, you know, this was really good. So like, I'll give you an example. The other day when we had like a family meal, so my husband and my 2 girls and myself, so normally I serve up all of everybody's like food onto their individual plates, and I just kind of serve their food a bit like you would have like at a restaurant kind of thing. But something in me like was calling me to serve everything up in like bowls. So I made like a salad, we cooked like a lasagna, homemade lasagna, and we had like some garlic bread, and I did some plain pasta for the girls, like, and I served it all up into different like bowls and things on the table so that everybody else could pick. So everybody started with blank plates. And one of the things that I have been desiring recently is to try and expand my 2 girls' like curiosity to try new foods. They are pretty good, but like they tend to eat kind of like the same thing. And so I wanted to just expand their like awareness of different foods and get them to start becoming curious and feel safe and confident to try new foods and new flavors. And I think as the result of this desire, this was like, this idea came up because I put it on the table like this. And my youngest was really like, you know, she was getting up on her chair and she was like looking around at all the different dishes and like really interested to like see all this stuff. And so I had made some just plain pasta and some like separate bolognese for them to have because I know that's what they like. But she saw the lasagna and it looked really cool, you know, it was all in like a big dish. And you know, sometimes like when things are served up big like that, they just look more enticing rather than, you know, like if you scoop out lasagna, it can look a bit like a dollop on your plate kind of thing. But like as a whole, it looked amazing. And she was like really curious and she was like, can I have a bit of that? Can I try a bit of that? And she only had 2 mouthfuls, but she didn't spit them out. She didn't, you know, like it wasn't disgusting. She was like, I've had enough, I've tried it. And so can you see how like, so at the end of the day, I wrote down like, this was really nice. And like, also what was really nice about it was like, everybody was kind of like, oh, could you pass me that over? Like there was more interaction going on at the dinner table. And I was like, personally, I really enjoyed that. It was a really nice like family experience. So I wrote it down in my journal and I was like, this felt good. You know, this was a good idea. I'm going to do this more often. So it really doesn't have to be anything more complicated than that. Now that was obviously like quite a physical example. But like, if I wanted to like dug deeper on that example, I could have pulled out how I came to the table and I was really relaxed and I was like, you know, if they want to try some new stuff, then they can try it. If they don't want to try it, then that's cool. So I could have commented in my journal on how actually this mindset felt really good. It felt more relaxed. It felt more at ease. It felt more accepting, more open. You know, so you can do this with all of this, you know, but just simply start to write down. Oh, the dog's got up. Hey, buddy. Just simply start to write down what starts to feel good and what doesn't feel good. And then when you do it on what doesn't feel good, make sure you're not placing any judgment and shame around it. Like I say, come at this from very much a like curiosity perspective, like you're this outsider looking in, and then you start to kind of detach yourself from it being personal. You're not taking it personal. You're just like, you're like an explorer, like a scientist, or, you know, a researcher, and you're just noting down like observations. And so you don't then have too many like attachments around the observations. It's just simply like, you know, you don't make it into a whole story, and you don't make it like mean more than what it needs to be. It's just simply, you know, this happened and this didn't really feel that good. So, you know, what is this telling me about myself? What would I like to do differently if like I was to do this again? Like, start to explore. It's not about placing blame. That's pointless. You know, the experience is over. It's happened. Like, how can you move forward with it? So like, for example, like one of the things that I wrote in my journal around something that wasn't so great was how recently I've been having like a lot more lie-ins, and I've then really struggled to get up out of bed and get all the things done that I wanted to do, like have a workout, like have time to like make a really good breakfast, have time to like spend some time with the girls, to not feel rushed to get ready in the morning, that kind of thing. And so there's no like blame there. It's just an observation of the fact that actually, like, it does feel really good to me when I get up and I get out of bed that bit earlier, so I have more time and I'm not rushing, and I can take things a little bit slower, and I can have a bit more flow in my mornings. Like, this is all you're doing simply, and the more you do it, the more you get to learn about yourself. So in that example, I've learned that like maybe I have those slower mornings on the weekends when I haven't got the commitments of doing the school run and all those kinds of things. But like midweek, I like to get up. So, I'm going to set my alarm that bit earlier so I can get up and I can have that slower morning, even though I've got like a commitment to, get my girls to school at a certain time. That is how you learn about yourself. That is how you start to understand like who you are as a person, and what like you feel connected to, what feels in alignment to you, what feels good and what doesn't. And I don't think it needs to be like too much more complicated than that. Like I say, there are lots of different practices and there's lots of different angles that you can look at this from. I'm not going to go into all of those in this video. Like I say, I'm in the process of putting together a course that will take you through this like journey of how to really connect in with yourself on all these different levels. But if you want to just start like, from the basics, this is the best place to start, because unless you can understand your emotions and unless you can be conscious about them and understand what they're communicating to you, you can't really go much further than that. And so that is definitely the first starting point. And then once you learn that and you start to get better at becoming conscious and aware, what you'll find starts to happen is you're able to start doing this kind of process in real time. So in the beginning, it might be that you have like a day where things did come up like negatively, but that night you write down, thinking this way didn't feel this good today. Saying yes to something that I really didn't want to do didn't feel good, for example. All those kind of different things. And you'll kind of be doing lots of like observing, the past. Whereas the more you do this and the more you get practice at it, what you'll find is that you're actually then capable of doing that like in real time. So you might be out in a situation. This often happens a lot with like my kids. It's very like in the moment, and also like your triggers tend to happen like very quickly with your kids. But like I'm able to catch myself more and go, okay, I've dropped into this, like I feel this in my body. I can feel the thoughts are now starting to like match this emotion that I'm feeling. Right, what do I like? What don't I like? What can I change? And you start to be able to adapt and be flexible in the moment. Like this is co-creating with the universe, because then you can start to go, right, this is what I need to change. This is what I need to tweak. Like, and then it's constantly like, feeling that feedback. Okay, I've tweaked this. Like I've changed my mindset around this. I've taken, some different action, whatever it might be now. And it's like, then check in again and say, right now, how does this feel? Like, is this feeling better? Is this feeling more in alignment? No, I think I could do more. Or like, no, that's not the right thing. I'll try something else. Like, it's this constant like check in, you know, what do I feel, right? Where's the feedback? Now what do I do with the feedback? Do something more, check in again, like grab the feedback. It's, you know, and for like most people, this can feel really exhausting and like, why the hell would you want to go through this? But if you've clicked on this video then, and you've watched this long in the video, then I guarantee you're somebody who really has a desire and a passion for their own personal self-growth. And if you want to elevate that and you want to like become the best version of yourself, then this is how you can start that journey. Okay. That's it, guys. I'm just going to check through my notes. I don't think I've got anything else. I think I wrapped all of that up. So if you want to know more about this topic, like I say, if you're interested in going on like a self-led course and digging deeper into this journey of connecting back with yourself, let me know in the comments. It's always really great to get your feedback. Like I say, I'm in the process of creating that. I don't have any launch dates for it yet, but you know, I'd be interested to know if you're interested in that. And also if you've got any more questions around this topic of diving deeper into yourself, connecting more with yourself, returning home, as I like to call it, drop the comments and I will either make a separate video about it or, you know, feedback to you in the comments around your questions. Okay. And I love your feedback and I love your comments. Like it fuels more conversations, it fuels more growth, more expansion. Like it's this amazing like feedback loop that I love having with you guys. So please feel free to drop any comments that you have below. And that's it. Have a beautiful day, and I hope you enjoy getting more connected with your inner self and who you truly are. Have a beautiful day, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.